Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I'm coming to you with another library haul. So for my last library haul that I did about 3 weeks ago, I only read one of the books. But I have a plan this time. And some of you might find this plan to be odd, but I am very excited about it. So my plan is, I've got 6 books here I'm going to be sharing with you guys. I looked up all of these books and 4 out of the 6 are available on audio. So I think I'm going to listen to them on audio, and these will be like my next audiobooks that I listen to, which I know might seem odd. Why take a physical book out of the library to only then borrow it on audio? But my argument is that it's very difficult to browse audiobooks or ebooks. That's always been my one thing. I love digital media. Like, I love audiobooks. I love ebooks. The problem is that it's not like you can go to like a store and browse them. You know, yes, you can go on Audible and you can like search, via this, that, and the other thing. But, it's not like going to a library where, you're looking at a shelf of stuff, like maybe the romance books, and then you turn around and look and like, oh, here's a stack of mystery paperbacks. Oh, I wasn't looking for anything mystery, but let's see what they have. It's a lot more browsing ability. Like, yes, you can browse digital media on Kindle or on Amazon or Audible, but it's not the same thing. So that's just my argument. So in a way, this is kind of me going there and seeing what books are available and be like, well, those look good. I think I would like to read those. Borrowing them, and then if I can get them on audio, bonus. Because if you watched I literally finished filming it 2 minutes ago, but if you watched my weekly reading update yesterday, I do talk about the fact that I am commuting into the office every day now, and I'm kind of getting back into audiobooks just for my commute and stuff like that. So very excited. So anyway, the first 2 books are not available on audio, but I do hope to get to them. My library, the one library I go to, has a amazing selection of Harlequin large print editions, and that makes me so happy. So I kind of stuck with the whole March Mystery Madness genre thing going on here, or readathon going on, because all these books are mystery, mysterious, something like that. So first off, we have a romantic suspense, and this is High Country Hideout by L. James. Again, large print. So all of the ones in this section are these big large print books, which is fantastic. This is part of the Covert Cowboys Inc. series. But do love me a good cowboy, a romantic suspense. I saw it and I thought, sure, sounds good. So romance. Romantic suspense. And then I got a love-inspired suspense because I thought, why not? And this is Against the Tide by Melody Carlson. Now, I've read her before. She writes some very sweet Christian fiction books, like really delightfully sweet Christian fiction books. This is an inspirational romantic suspense, so I'm very excited to see what it's all about. The cover intrigued me at first until I really looked at it. I thought that was the London Bridge at first, like when I first glanced at it and realized, no, it's not. So it's somewhere on the West Coast, I believe somewhere in Oregon. I think this is where this takes place. But, yeah, I'm excited. It looks like a good one. I do like this author quite a bit. I did not realize that she wrote for the love-inspired suspense line. So, again, large print. Very excited about getting to this one. So, yay. So, the rest of these books are available on audio, and that's probably how I will be reading them. And the first book is one that I kind of glanced down and I saw these books and I'm like, oh my gosh, they have almost the whole series. And I'm only really at now these are all a reread for me, but I'm only right now rereading through book 4 or 5. But I decided to jump ahead in the series because I'm feeling a bit nostalgic. And I decided to reread the first mystery book, like the first cozy mystery that I ever read. And that is The Cat Who Wasn't There by Lillian Jackson Braun. So, people, was this a cozy? Was it not? These books came out quite some time ago. So I read this. This came out originally in 1992. So not that long ago, but I'm pretty sure I read it in like 95 maybe. But I remember being at, local Torontonians who might be watching this, way back in the day. Anybody else remember the world's biggest bookstore? It was this massive bookstore that was downtown Toronto and was just north of the Eaton Center, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And this was in the days before Indigo, Chapters. I think Barnes & Noble was a thing in the US, but it wasn't a thing up here. The bookstores that you went to would be the little littler, not littler, but you know, like store size in a mall was the kind of bookstore you were going to, right? To have something like the world's biggest bookstore, which was legitimately what it was called, was like 2 or 3 stories, and it had like a gazillion books. And we used to go every year right before we go away on vacation. Mom and Dad would take my brother and I, and we get to pick out some books to buy to take with us on vacation. And I was at that time where I was like between like the YA, like the Sweet Valley books, and was just kind of getting into adult books. I was reading some Anne Rice and V.C. Andrews. V.C. Andrews, I think, is still considered to be YA. And I was looking, and I found my mom, and she was looking at the mysteries, and she handed me this book, and she says, your Nan loved these books. My mom's mom really enjoyed the Cat Who mysteries, and it's a set of mysteries about a man named Quillerin, I think is his full name, and his 2 cats, Coco and Yum Yum. And they're purebred Siamese cats, and they solve mysteries. So this one, I think this is number 14 in the series, but in this one, Quill travels to Scotland and leaves the cats at home. But a mystery happens, and even across the pond, Coco helps him solve the mystery. I remember just being so enchanted with this book when I read it and thinking, this is delightful. Like, it wasn't a mystery like I was thinking with, like, you know, like a police procedural type mystery. Definitely a cozy. I would consider it a cozy because our main protagonist is he's an amateur sleuth. So, yeah, I love these books so much. The very end of the series, they went belly up because the author had passed away. They got in a ghostwriter, and they were just garbage. I will not read the last like 4 or 5 books in the series. I'll stop at a certain point because they were no longer written by her. But this was the first one, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Sorry, that was kind of a bit of a long explanation. And then when I walked into the library, they had like a big section called popular picks and stuff that people are grabbing. They had 2 copies of this one, and I'm like, ooh, this looks really good. And I don't think I've read this author before, but this is Lisa Unger, and it's Last Girl Ghosted. It says, think twice before you swipe. So of course, you know, we're going to start to get thrillers involving social dating apps. And my assumption is this might be Tinder, because I think you swipe with Tinder. I don't know how Tinder works. I'm married. An online dating match turns into a deadly cat and mouse game in this riveting and utterly original thriller. So yeah, sounds really good. Again, I can grab it on audio too, so I'm looking forward to this one. I don't want to read too much about this one because thrillers I want to go into blind. I then got an Agatha Christie because I was totally prompted by reading Aggie Morton last week, The Body Under the Piano, the middle grade novel about a young Agatha Christie. And I have only read, I mentioned this in one of my videos last week. I've read And Then There Were None, and I've read Murder on the Orient Express, which are like the big, you know, popular ones. And I did start reading this one yesterday. I got like a chapter into it or something, and I was enjoying it. But I looked, and my library has it on audio, and I listened to just a little bit of the narration, and it's so good. So good. So the next book I have here is 450 from Paddington by Agatha Christie. So this is a Miss Marple mystery. And you guys were lovely when I asked about reading Agatha Christie in order. You all were like, nope, you can just read Agatha Christie. But everybody said, read the last Poirot novel last, I think, you know? So, yeah, because these books don't tie into each other. They just so happen to all have the same main character of Miss Marple or Poirot or whatever, right? Or her standalones. So, yeah, in this one, the reason I picked, my library had a lot of these, a lot of Agatha Christie on the shelf. And the reason I picked this one was the name, Paddington. Because I think of Paddington Bear. Because I have a Paddington Bear. You guys see my Paddington Bear? Way up there. All the way from England. My mom got that from me. I wasn't even born yet when she bought it she brought it back. She said she had to buy a seat on the plane for it, I think. But yeah, Paddington, that's what kind of drew me in on this one. So it's about this woman named is it McGillicuddy is her name? And she is traveling to see her friend, Miss Marple. And she's on the train. And as the train, like there's a point where the train slows down a bit and there's another train on a track adjacent to it. And they're like traveling together at a slower speed because they're going to come to a place, I guess, where they cross or something like that. And as the trains slow down, she's of course watching out the window and she can see things that are happening in the other train. She witnesses a murder. And that story kind of goes from there. So totally intrigued. I love the idea of it. Kind of like that Rear Window idea, but yeah. So I will report back on this one. And last but not least, now this was listed in the mystery section, but when I looked it up on Goodreads, it was like romance, women's fiction, which I can completely understand, because that's what it sounded like to me. But again, it's mystery section for some reason. And this is A Place in the Country by Elizabeth Adler. I've never heard of this author before, but the cover, like, I was looking at the mystery books and this is what I saw. I'm like, that looks women's fiction-y and then I'm like, but it's got mystery. And then of course the cover, I mean, very, very much a women's fiction type novel. So, this one is about, yeah, I mean, even just, okay, so Elizabeth Adler delivers an emotionally powerful novel about mothers and daughters, the secrets they share, and those they keep to themselves. Yeah. So essentially what it's about is about a 15-year-old girl and her single mother are struggling to find their way. The mother has no money and is responsible for the two of them. Okay, let me just read it. When she decides to leave behind her well-off life in Singapore and her cheating husband and his longtime mistress, she ends up living in an English village pub, working as a chef there to earn enough to get by, meeting unexpectedly quirky people, and making friends. But Izzy, which is the daughter, still adores her father and secretly blames her mother for their change in life. Just as Caroline's dream of converting an old barn into a restaurant finally begins to take shape, her chance at happiness is threatened and hangs in the balance as whispers of murder and vengeance find their way to her. And that's all I'm going to read from that. So clearly they're trying to put their lives back together and something happens. So again, it's listed as a mystery. So, and it does say mystery on Goodreads, but it's quite far down the list of stuff that people have labeled this book. Like, it's definitely being labeled more as a women's fiction. So I'm excited and I'm intrigued, and I've never read this author before, and I do love finding a new author. Again, this is the joy of going to the library. You know, would I have found this author looking through books on Amazon or on Audible? Probably not. And who knows, I might end up really, really liking this book. So libraries are great, guys. Libraries are great. Even if you borrow the book and end up listening to it or reading it in a different form, you're still there and you still get to see the books and, you know, yeah, and pick and choose. So anyway, guys, that is all that I have for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys have read any of these. I'm sure a lot of you have probably read Miss Christie. I did post this on my Instagram that I had started it, but I am going to switch it over to audio because I think it's going to be the better way to go. So anyway, that's all that I have, guys. Take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.